Alright, let's begin. Hello everyone and welcome to BHC Studios. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new Fujifilm X-T50. Now it's taken me a while to get a hold of this camera because I was in Europe for half my summer and I just couldn't fit it into my schedule. And also initially when Fujifilm released this camera, maybe the oddest thing bothered me about this camera, which was this little angle here. I actually preferred the squared off look of the previous X-T30 version, but you know what, in person this looks a lot better than I thought, and now I'm kind of getting used to this look. I still like the boxy look, you know, of this is the X100F. I love this boxy look. And X Pro 3, there's a bit of a slope, where is it? There's a bit of a slope here, and I'll embed a video where I was I'm actually shooting this on the X-T4, but I had the X-T4 and the X-T50 next to each other. You know, you can see that blocky look of the X-T series. It looks more aggressive. When you put straps, especially with these eyelet lugs, and I put a strap, it actually kind of naturally kind of curves in. So the thing that bugged me the most, which is very superficial, but again, you know what, a lot of times people are buying Fujifilm for their aesthetics, and the fact that this comes in 3 different finishes, black, silver, and silver, charcoal silver, looks matter, right? This is a pretty cool looking camera, and I actually think this would be kind of a competition to the X100-6 because it shares the same processor and it shares the same sensor. The thing about this camera here is it is interchangeable lens, and it has a couple of cool features. So let's kind of go over a couple of the things here. First of all, the price, and I think the price is something that really was the sticking point for me. Is I think the price is worth what you're getting in this camera, and we'll go over the specs very soon. But who is this camera for? So it's $13.99 USD for the body only. The kit lens, I think there's a 15 to 45. I wouldn't get that lens with this sensor. There's a new 16 to 50 f2.8. I haven't tested it, so I can't say anything about it, but the size and weight of it kind of balances with this camera here. But it is basically $1,400 US. So for $300 more, you get the X-T5, and which is what a lot of people have been talking about. Or you can get the older X-T30 Mark II for $899, which is kind of the price where we expected the double-digit prosumer cameras to land with Fujifilm. But you know, obviously time has changed. The XS10 I think was the first to go over $1,000, or it was exactly $1,000. The XS20 now is over $1,000, and so it kind of makes sense that these prosumer cameras, since they are getting more and more pro features, that they're raising the price. Anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But 438 grams, so it is reasonably light. It is a little bit bigger than the previous X-T30, but with that little slope, I mean, unless you had it side by side, I don't think you could really tell the difference, the weight difference between the two. But you know, in terms of sizing, similar to the X100. I mean, I do have a square hood on this, but you know, like if you're gonna carry this around all day, you could just as easily carry this camera around all day, depending on the lens choice. And so with Fujifilm, I asked them, don't send me the new zoom lens. I just wanted small prime, so I have the 27 f2.8 and I got the 16 f2.8, and so these were the 2 lenses that I wanted to carry around. And this was so light and compact. I'm used to shooting with my Leicas or even my X Pro series. I like bigger cameras. I don't mind the weight. I'm a camera nerd, but some people might not want to. You could almost, I mean, I wouldn't jog with this camera, but if you had to jog with this camera, it's alright, you could do it. Great travel camera for its compact size and weight, but it packs a punch because it does have that new 40 megapixel 5th generation X-Trans CMOS 5, the HR, so that thing that stands for high resolution sensor, with the latest X processor 5, 7 stops of IBIS, which equals the X-T5, and with those specs, it is equaling the X-T5, except because of thermals and also a different shutter, because this is 1/4000th of a second top mechanical shutter with 1/180th flash sync, where the X-T5 is a higher performance 1/8000th of a second top mechanical shutter with 1/250th of a second flash sync, and it has higher continuous shooting rates on the X-T5. But I mean, you know, this is still a great performing camera for what you get. But what you don't get on the X-T series is all the X-T double digits have always had, there you go, pop-up flash. And I think that is the pretty darn great feature to have for a travel camera or just if you need fill flash. I think it's great that it's built in. Sometimes you forget that it's there because it's so well hidden and engineered. And as well, you do have this full auto mode here. And this, I think every XT double digit has always had it. And that even overrides this here. So let's say you're at f8 and you are at 1/500th of a second, right? So it's turned on. You can see it says 1/500th and it says ISO 3200 f8. And as soon as you go, boom, auto mode, and you even saw that it told you auto mode, immediately it just changes. See that? Now it's 1/125th and f2.8 there, if you can see that, even though the dial settings are something different. So this is great if you're doing something very specific. Sometimes I'll be doing street photography, f8, 1/500th of a second to make sure I'm freezing the moment. And then all of a sudden I want to, someone says, can you take a picture of us? And I want to use the pop-up flash. Well, then if you just go into auto and then you pop up the flash, now it just gives you the right settings. Close it, get back out of auto, and it goes back into your mechanical settings. So this actually is kind of a neat feature. It's almost like going into P mode, right? If you have a PASM dial, but this is much simpler. Now, the point of contention for a lot of people, including myself, is this dedicated film simulation dial. Now, on the XS series, the XS10 and the 20, it was an unmarked dial, and by default it was film simulation, but you could change it to other things. This one is just kind of hardwired in here, and so this camera clearly isn't targeted for camera nerds like myself, because I would want to at least be able to pick what this does. But the thing is, what I like about it is when you're changing it, did you see that? You can actually see the film simulation, and here, let's just pick a properly exposed shot here. So you can actually see the film simulations changing, but notice you don't need to look at the dial. So if you are using the LCD to compose, all you do is look at this on this LCD screen, and even in EVF mode, I don't think you can see it, can you? Maybe you can see it here. In EVF mode, there you go, see? In EVF mode, you can also see it changing. So really, you never really have to even look at the dial. So I personally feel that it's better off to be a programmable dial, just like the XS20. But again, I think the target market are beginners, millennials, Gen Z, people that are first getting into ILC cameras or interchangeable lens cameras. And so it just kind of makes the camera look, I don't know, more friendly, more person friendly. And with this film simulation dial, I'm surprised that they actually give you an actual shutter speed dial instead of it being a PASM or programmed shutter speed priority, aperture priority, manual control dial there instead of it being shutter speed. But I like it because, again, if I'm doing street photography, I need to freeze the action. I just set my shutter speed at least 1/250th, if not 1/500th of a second. And I'll post some pictures that I took with street photography. It's great to be able to just click this, pick your aperture, and then go to auto ISO to let the camera choose the ISO for you. And so I'm happy that it's here, but if this is the market that they're targeting, then I think this should be a PASM or some kind of a easy pick kind of a dial thing. Great to have the exposure compensation. Having front and rear dial control is also great, as well as push in for that secondary feature. So by default, this back is usually a punch in on zoom, but you can custom set that. The front one here, you could probably do a long press and switch between it being like ISO, aperture, or shutter speed based on whatever mode that you're in. I mean, it's basically a baby X-T5, which is great, and the price reflects it at $13.99 USD. And so the price is fair for what you get. A compact, lightweight, beautiful looking camera. Powerful 40 megapixels, X processor 5, 7 stops of IBIS, built-in flash, has the auto mode, has all the new film simulations, uses the older, smaller battery, but that makes sense for this compact body, or else they would have to make this grip deeper. I think this grip is nicer than the previous XT30 version. With the X processor 5, it is more battery efficient, so I can't remember what the CP rating is, but it's pretty decent for a camera of this size. So positive is small, compact, powerful. Image quality, I didn't bother spending too much time taking pictures because, I mean, I had the X-T5 and I know what the 40 megapixel sensor with the X processor 5 and Fujifilm's firmware can do. And so image quality, no problem. It's going to be top notch. You can definitely take awesome photos with this camera. And especially when you pair it with a compact lens like the 27mm or the 16 even. I'll post some pictures that I did with the 16. I mean, you guys know I like wide angle shots, and I was in Chinatown. I was with TJ and Emma, and I was able to take some cool pictures of them wearing some cool jackets from Y2. And so, I mean, I love this, and shooting at f5.6 on the street, again, manually setting my shutter speed to like 1/500th, and then just going to auto ISO. So I think it's mostly between ISO 400 and 3200, depending on the light. But I mean, just a great kind of a compact setup. As well, I think a lot of the other manufacturers like Small Rig are really invested. Like, I think they think this camera is going to do well, because just go to B&H and type in X-T50. Look at all the different grips and the half cases, the accessories for this. So I think they also feel that, you know, the X100-6 is still back ordered. So I think this is a good alternative with a pancake lens. I think, you know, if they do have trouble selling, because they're not sold out of it, and we're used to seeing popular Fujifilm cameras sold out, and this isn't sold out. I think the charcoal silver is probably going to sell the best. But if anything, include a good kit lens. And not the 16-50 or the 15-45, but give either some of the Fujicrons, the 16 f2.8 or the 18 f2 or the 23 f2, 35 f2, even the XC 35 f2. Give primes to this camera here, and I think you're giving a good alternative to the X100 series. Now, as for cons, as I mentioned, it's expensive. You are getting what you pay for, but if they are targeting millennials, if they are targeting Gen Z, targeting new people to photography, and also making like a beautiful, cool looking camera, I think around the $1,000 price point is probably where they should have aimed at. There are die-hard XT double-digit shooters that basically just wanted a lighter, more compact version of the XT single digit. So XT3 versus XT30. A lot of people want the XT30 because it was lighter, more compact. It's not weather sealed, so that's another con. And you know, Yuji Igarashi of Fujifilm, I've talked to him a few times, and he still loves his XT30, but I'm sure he's loving his XT50. And for him, he can shoot with any Fujifilm camera. He loves hiking. It makes sense to shoot with a compact camera like this. So if you are targeting entry-level photographers, I don't know if the shutter speed dial makes sense in combination with this. This should be a PASM dial. Or if you're going to go with a shutter speed dial, then this should be blank and it should be programmable. That's just my take. As I mentioned, no WR, so that is a negative, but again, the double-digit cameras have never had weather sealing. EVF is the 2.36 million dot, so the X-T5 is better, has over a million more dots EVF, but the key is 0.62 magnification versus 0.8 on the X-T5, and so it is a small kind of view. So, you know, I wear glasses, and so wearing glasses and shooting with this is a little bit more difficult. I know people, like my brother has the X-T20 and he loves it. He wears glasses and he just puts up with it, but I like it a little bit bigger, and the X-T single digit Pro Series has that nice eye cup to make it a little bit easier to shoot. So that'd be a nice thing for Fujifilm to be able to add as a third party option, is if they can just add something that gives you a little bit more eye relief, and as well as be able to cut out some of the light, and also small. If you notice the way I hold it here, my hand, you know, like I can only really get two hands on like this and the rest of it. So that small rig, or I think maybe Fujifilm has their own, having a little grip here to extend the grip would be a nice accessory. It is making the camera bigger, but it's not going to make it that much heavier. So I say if you have bigger hands and you want a compact, lightweight camera like this, then just add a grip to it. And so my overall thoughts is, yeah, it's worth it for the price. But for someone like me, I'd rather just get the X-T5, which I did. I think the X-T5 for $300 more, dual card slot, weather sealing, better mechanical shutter, better EVF with better magnification, more pro features like having the double layer dial with the drive mode. You have drive dial, you have ISO, you have shutter speed, and then you can switch between video and stills, and it's a little bit bigger. So to me, X-T5, $300 more, but for some people the priority is compact, and so if you do pay $1,400 for this, you're still getting a good deal. I just don't know if they can find the target market for it. If they don't, as I recommended, just throw in this lens here, or throw in this lens, or maybe the 23, and I think you have a great entry-level kit for someone who's new to Fujifilm and also loves film simulation, which I actually do. So I'm not knocking film simulations. I think it's great. And then I'll show you again, as you're going through the film simulations, it shows it there. I think they should add this to all Fujifilm cameras, even the professional ones, as you change. And imagine if this was customizable. If you did customize this to ISO, then the ISO dial kind of becomes big there. And if it's the drive dial just shows up. I think this is actually a really smart idea. Forget about just this is on a prosumer camera. I think this could be a nice professional tool if they add this to other cameras and just make this a blank extra dial that you can program. All right, so thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon and happy shooting. Peace.